Well, it was good while it lasted. The Chicago Bulls get completely blown out and wasted at home against the Philadelphia 76ers. DeMar goes down with injury, even though it doesn't seem to be that serious. And we're going to take also a look at the Bulls' remaining games left and what it means for the playoff picture. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So if you guys had to suffer through that terrible loss last night like I did, I know waking up probably not in the best mood today, but it is what it is. Well, at least not when it comes to these Chicago Bulls. The Bulls get blown out by the Philadelphia 76ers at home in what was an embarrassing and utterly disrespectful loss. Let's just be clear here. To be on your home court and to get blown out to start the game off, what was it, 23-1 or something like that? And the game was never, even though the Bulls got the lead back down to 8 at one point, things like that, it never felt like a game where the Bulls were going to get back in this game. It never felt like a game where the Bulls were going to go on any type of run to completely get themselves back into it. It was a loss from the opening moment. And that is the difference to me and how I'm looking at this between a team that is scrappy in the Chicago Bulls, that has been playing with some heart, that still has a lot of talent on this team, and a team that has an MVP candidate and is just a surefire playoff team. It's just the difference, right? And that's kind of the biggest concern with this team overall and why the roster construction needs some work, because at the end of the day, while the Bulls can fight above their weight, they can punch above their weight, I should say, and they can beat some really good teams. When it comes to playoff style basketball, when you're facing a team that just is going to be focused on you night in and night out, the Bulls aren't coached well enough, they don't execute well enough, and they don't have enough talent to really come out in those type of situations. And that's what it showed today. So, this does not change much with the play-in race, and we'll talk about that before the show ends today. But when you look at this team, it just simply put, the Bulls could not match the intensity of this game. When the game got out to that 11-0 run or whatever it was, it seemed like Pat Bev was still trying to get the team involved, and you still saw some life in the team. And then you got the technicals of DeMar, head coach Billy Donovan, and then we got down to that 17 lead, and then the 21. And when that happened, you can feel the energy out of the UC. You can feel the energy out of the players. The body language changed. This was the first game that the Bulls completely looked like the team that they were before the All-Star break. Since the All-Star break, they got down on themselves. They just knew they were not on the game. The frustration levels were crazy. And yeah, there were some weird refereeing calls and things like that that took DeMar out of the game at times and stuff like that. But it wasn't just that. You can't blame this loss just on that. This team just did not seem prepared for the onslaught that the 76ers was going to bring their way. And then once they did get there and saw, oh, these boys playing tonight, they had no response for it. When you look at the fact that Joel Embiid played 16 minutes and basically chose to sit out the second half, that he just had no concern that his team was not going to be able to hold on to this lead, it says a lot. 25 points from Melton, 21 points from Maxey, 20 points from Tobias Harris. This is another game in which even James Harden set out this game with him not being 100%. The Bulls got completely obliterated. That's what it was. This was an embarrassing performance from a team that has been playing damn good since the All-Star break. And it just reminds that how important coaching and being prepared is. I'm not putting this loss completely on Billy Donovan. I'm not. I know some people will, and I can't blame you if you do. But we still weren't coached well enough. And Doc Rivers is a good NBA coach, don't get me wrong. But he's not the coach that, a lot of the, fans of Doc Rivers coach teams say a lot of the same things that we say about Billy Donovan. He doesn't adjust well. He doesn't do XYZ. But last night and in this game, completely outcoached head coach Billy Donovan. He came in with a plan, and the players also came in with the edge that the Bulls just were not prepared to match at all. This team they looked completely outclassed. This looked like a team that had nothing left to fight for. This looked like a team that was almost tanking, right? A team that's just not tanky, but a team that almost was just resigned to their fates of whatever it was. And that's probably the most disappointing part of this. Now, I will say, and I did say this on the post-game show last night, the Bulls probably needed this wake-up call. The Bulls needed to be reminded of how hard they need to play and prepare every single night for the remaining part of the season if they want to get into that play-in tournament. if they want to get out of that playing tournament and maybe get to the playoffs. This was a reminder that the Bulls that, have been playing with some edge maybe needed, hey, you need to maintain that edge. And I hear the things, well, the Bulls have played 2 double overtime games in a certain amount of days and all that, and that's all very valid, right? But the Philadelphia 76ers were also coming off a double overtime game because they were in the same game we were. And that's just the different level of what's going to be needed. And again, that's not to say that the Bulls weren't tired. That's not to say that their players weren't exhausted. That wasn't to say that their legs weren't affected, because that very much all could play a part in it. But when you talk about the fact that you think that you're better than what your record is, when these players say how good they know that they can be, and the fact that they know they can beat anyone, when a target is on your back, right? When a target is absolutely on your back, how you respond to that is important. And the Bulls, at least in this game, did not show a ability to respond when they have a target on them. It's easy to catch people slipping when not necessarily they're overlooking you, because I don't think that at all. I don't think the last, the Bulls games in the 3-game winning streak they had, the teams were overlooking the Bulls, or they came in not trying to win the game. But it's completely different when it's like, oh, now I'm finna get you. Right? It's a completely different level of competition. And so that has been one of my biggest concerns with this team, is just looking at if this team were to get into a playoff series atmosphere, not the play-in because those are one-off games, but in a playoff series type atmosphere, I have concerns about the coaching. I have concerns about, the players' ability to dig in mentally and go through what needs to go through the grind of a playoff series. They may do what they did last season and beat the Bucks one time, but are you going to be able to get multiple wins? Are you going to be able to push that series? Are you going to be able to make that series competitive, right? And I worry about the coaching, the heart, the desire. Well, not the desire, and not necessarily the heart either. Usually, it was a bad game last season, but I worry about if the Bulls are going to be able to match a team's playoff intensity. And this was a big reason why. This loss dropped the Bulls to being 0-5 in attempts at a 4-game winning streak over the course of the season. The big three in this game combined for only 28 points. Now, DeMar DeRozan didn't play most of the second half, but it's just when you have Kobe White leading your team in scoring off the bench with 19 points, that shows an indicative of just some bad things happening. And you look at the stats in this game. The Bulls shot 41% from the field, 24% from three-point range. Not very much different than the last game that they won against the Philadelphia 76ers. It's just the intensity. The rebounding battle. They only lost the rebounding battle by 2. The Bulls had 19 turnovers in this game, which is completely unacceptable. They had 18 assists on 34 made baskets. Over half their baskets were assisted. But all that doesn't matter, right? This is why I tell you guys all the time, statistics only get you, box score only gets you a little bit of the way, because even the Philadelphia 76ers shot 47% from the field, but they did shoot 43% from three-point range. You have to play better in games like this. You have to show it better. You have to be prepared when a team is coming in and all they've been thinking about for the last 48 hours is beating you like you beat them. And this team just did not come out. And it's almost like they didn't realize how serious. We've all were saying it. You guys were saying it in the pregame. You guys were saying it in the comments of the pre-recorded video. Everybody seemed to know that the Philadelphia 76ers were going to come out of this game and try to murder the Bulls, except the Chicago Bulls players. It seemed like they were the only ones who almost did not realize what the Sixers were about to try to do last night. And then when they did it and they came out, they had no response for it. The coaches had no response. Billy Donovan was frustrated. Everybody was frustrated by that loss. And, Bulls Nation is going to be frustrated. We got to sit with this one. We play again tomorrow, so we'll see what that ends up turning into for the Bulls. But I tell you what, it ain't looking good, homie. It ain't looking good. But we'll see what this means. We'll see what the Bulls do in the long term for this, man. But, yeah, that's rough. It's tough, man, and it sucks, just to be frank. But moving on from that, in this game, DeMar DeRozan did re-aggravate his hip injury. It doesn't seem to be too much concern. Nikola Vucevic shared that there's not too much concern. Billy Donovan had this to say, I'm always concerned because he's been dealing with it, but I haven't gotten anything that's indicated he's going to be out any length of time. But I think when you have a reoccurring thing that he's been having to manage and deal with, it's like Alex. Listen, most guys aren't totally healthy this time of year, but they're healthy enough to go on the court and perform and work through it. I think for Alex and DeMar, they're at a place right now where they physically can't perform like they want to or need to for us. And so, DeMar has, even when he came out that he had been dealing with that injury, I think at that point it had been like 9 games or something that before we even found out that he was dealing with that. And for the way that he's been performing, it's huge that he's still dealing with that hip injury. And I'm sure the frustrations over this game played a part in it and everything. It's hard to really get up when you're already dealing with a physical injury and you're getting completely lambasted out there, but it is what it is. And, I hope that this thing does not turn into a thing where DeMar DeRozan misses games, but what our next game's against Portland, if he needs to sit against that game, sit. Because we go back, we got the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Lakers again after that. We have the LA stretch. So we need DeMar DeRozan in this last part of the season. We do need him. And that just is what it is. He's a big part of this team, and especially with the role he's been playing of facilitating more, picking his shots, playing really well in fourth quarters, getting big shots when the Bulls need them. We're going to need that unless somebody's going to step up. And honestly, I trust that Zach can step it up. I trust Pat Bev and Vooch. They're going to do what they've been doing, but I don't necessarily trust this supporting cast to step up in the needed way if DeMar's out for an extended period of time. So, we need DeMar or we need somebody to step up. And if DeMar does end up missing a game or so, the biggest question is who's going to step up? Who's going to take on a bigger role at that point? Who's not going to pass up shots? Who's going to willingly, try to be more of a focal point when Zach rests or whatever? It's more than likely is going to be Vooch, but we need somebody other than that. And maybe it's Kobe White. Kobe who's had a couple of good scoring games back to back. We already know. And if you saw in this game and last game, Kobe White continues to just show that he's developed into such a well-rounded basketball player. And I love Kobe White for that. But this injury to DeMar, it sucks. And I'm sure frustration played a part in it. When he just ran through Paul Reed, it was like, hey, man, come on, bro. Come on, fam. Like, this is what we doing? Is this what we doing? And he knew he was going to get a technical. You could tell he was frustrated. And I'm glad that this team was frustrated. They need to look at themselves. And I'm glad that they have now a day to sit here and just think about the way that you just on your home court got completely embarrassed and got your pants pulled down. You played like shit. So, hopefully DeMar's able to come back. Like I said, it doesn't seem like there's any huge concerns that this is going to be like a thing where he's going to miss a bunch of time, and we need it. And, talking about that that stretch that we have, the Chicago Bulls have 10 games left. 4 of those games are at home, 6 are on the road, right? The Bulls have to be able to find a way to dig in over this last stretch and continue to play well if they want some postseason. Now, we know that we've talked about it, the standings right now in the Eastern Conference, nothing really changed because a lot of the teams lost as well. The Indiana Pacers did win, but they right now still sit currently 1.5 games below us. The Washington Wizards lost, and they are 2.5 games below us. The Toronto Raptors lost as well, so we're only still a half game back of the Toronto Raptors and that 9th seed. And honestly, we're only 1.5 games back of the potential 8th seed. Now, when you get into we're 5 games below the 7th seed, that doesn't really seem like it's going to be a possibility to catch up there. And the Bulls don't need to worry about that. You need to just keep winning. But at all things even, the Bulls still sit with a nice spot and hold on that 10th and final play-in spot, with still one of the easier schedules amongst the teams fighting for that play-in spot as well. So the Bulls have the 21st hardest schedule. So it's not like they have a hard schedule at all. Every team that's below us in the standings right now have a harder schedule than us. So if the Bulls can continue to take advantage of this and play well over these last 10 games, then yeah, we can make the play-in tournament. But the bigger questions that face this team aren't just about the play-in tournament. It's more so about, all right, what are you going to benefit from this play-in tournament? How are you going to grow and develop in this play-in tournament? What are the players going to learn through growing through this process, right? We talked about it last season, how getting playoff experience was important, albeit, 5 games of playoff experience, only 1 win. But when you look at the team and how they are and the need to develop, the need to really go through some more adversity to realize what you need to do in the season that you've put your fan base and you've been through yourself. Over this last 10 games, the Bulls have to be locked in. And if they can go 7-3 over these last 10, that's a 500 record on the season. That's 41-41. But I think realistically, the Bulls need to at least win 6 of these games to lock in that play-in spot. That's my opinion. It depends on, of course, what other teams win and lose in that stretch. So we'll end up seeing that. But it's tough, man. And this team has to figure it out in a way to play off with consistent intensity, because last night ain't it. And repeat performances against teams like that. And again, the team hasn't played, like, they're 8-5 since the All-Star break. Shout out to them for that. But you have to find a way to match the intensity of teams that are going to be coming in trying to get you. And I say that to say this, only because I'm looking at the play-in tournament. You think those teams aren't going to come out with knowing that their back is against the wall, that they're not going to come out fully ready and engaged to try to murder you? They absolutely are. And so if the Bulls get into that play-in tournament, you need to be using these last 10 games to build in, to be prepared for the intensity level that's coming for you in the playoffs. You cannot continue to overlook situations in teams. Not to say that they necessarily overlooked it, but you can't be unprepared. And a lot of that is also on head coach Billy Donovan. You got to coach us better, bro. You got to come out with a better plan. You got to adjust better. Billy Donovan did, like, as much as the players seemed shell-shocked by the start of last game, Billy Donovan did as well. No effing adjustment. No adjustment. So, hopefully this team uses this as a bit of a wake-up call, and we'll see what it ends up turning into for this team. Let me know down below how you think about everything and feel about everything going on. We'll also get a members-only video out tonight for the members, so make sure you guys are looking out for that if you are a member of the channel. If you're not, think about joining the membership. But that's it for me for today. Thank you for being the best part of Chicago Bulls Central, the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I liked in every first, before you do that, follow us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.